We've all been there, right? You have this brilliant, game-changing idea, but turning it into a real, thriving business, that's a whole other story. That gap, that canyon between a great plan and actual profit is exactly what we're going to tackle. We're going to explore the strategies that bridge that gap, starting from your daily to-do list and zooming all the way out to a global competitive advantage.
It really all boils down to this classic struggle: plan versus execution. Look, dreaming up a strategy is the fun part. It's exciting. But the real magic, and let's be honest, the real challenge is in the day-to-day grind of making it all happen. So, how do you actually do it? Well, we're going to break it down, level by level.
All right, let's start our journey at the ground level. We're zooming right in on you, your desk, and your daily tasks. Why? Because before you can steer a company, you have to be able to steer your own day. It all starts here.
Now, here is an incredibly simple, but incredibly powerful tool for getting a grip on your day. The Eisenhower Decision Matrix. It basically forces you to filter every single thing you have to do through two simple questions. Is it urgent? And is it important? Your answers tell you exactly what to do next. It's so effective because it cuts through all the noise. You know, our brains get a little hit of dopamine from just finishing urgent stuff, even if that stuff doesn't really matter. This matrix, it's like a reality check. First up, the do quadrant. This is your hair on fire stuff. These are the fires you have to put out, the deadlines that are breathing down your neck. Think about fixing a critical software bug moments before a huge presentation. There's zero debate here. You do this, and you do it right now.
Okay, next is the decide quadrant. Now, these tasks are super important for your long-term success, but they aren't screaming for your attention. This is where real strategy happens. Things like planning out your marketing plan for next quarter. The absolute key here is to schedule this work. You have to literally decide when you will do it. Otherwise, it just gets swallowed by the chaos of the day-to-day.
Then we've got delegate. These are the sneaky ones. They feel urgent, they demand to be done right now, but they are not the best use of your unique skills. A perfect example is getting a request that's not even in your area of expertise. Don't be a hero. Pass it on to the right person and get back to what matters. And finally, my personal favorite, the delete quadrant. These are just the distractions, the time sucks. You have to be absolutely ruthless here. Unsubscribing from a dozen newsletters you never read, that's a perfect example. Just get them out of your life and take back your focus.
Okay, so you've totally mastered your own to-do list. Awesome. Now let's zoom out a bit. We're going from you, the individual, to the team, the system. How do we make an entire process more efficient and effective?
To do that, we need to talk about one of the most fundamental ideas in business improvement, the plan, do, check, act cycle. You might see it as PDCA. The goal here isn't to find one single perfect solution and then you're done. No way. The goal is to create a constant loop of learning and getting better, bit by bit, forever. First, you plan. And this means really defining the problem with data. So not customers are unhappy, but customer complaints are up 15%. Then you form a hypothesis, a guess. We believe a new training module for our support team will reduce complaints by 10%. See how specific that is? Then you do. But, and this is important, you don't just roll this out to the entire company. No. You run a small, controlled experiment. Maybe you just try it with a single team. The goal is to learn as fast as you can without taking a massive risk if it doesn't work out. Next, you check. This is where you put on your analyst hat and look at the data. Did that new training actually reduce complaints? You compare the real-world results to what you predicted. What worked? What surprised you? What totally failed? And finally, you act. If your little experiment was a success, fantastic. You standardize it, you implement it more broadly. But if it wasn't, that's not a failure, that's learning. You take what you just discovered, you go right back to the planning stage with way more knowledge, and you start the cycle all over again. But here's the thing. Improving a process is only one side of the coin. The truly world-class organizations are also obsessed with purifying their processes. They systematically hunt down and destroy every single form of waste they can find. In the language of lean manufacturing, which is where these ideas come from, it all starts with muda. This is the kind of waste that's easiest to spot. It's any activity at all that uses up resources, time, money, materials, but adds zero value for the customer.
Next up, you've got to watch out for mora. This means imbalance or unevenness. This is the waste that comes from a choppy, unpredictable workflow. You have periods where everyone is frantically busy, followed by periods where people are just waiting around. That creates huge bottlenecks and tons of stress on the whole system.
And that imbalance, that mura, almost always leads directly to mudi, which means overload. This is the waste you get from pushing your people or your equipment way past the reasonable limits for too long. Mudi leads to burnout, it leads to mistakes, and eventually, it leads to total breakdowns.
All right, time to zoom out one last time. We're going way up to the 30,000-foot view. We're moving beyond our own daily tasks and our internal processes, and we're talking about the grand strategies that give a company its real competitive edge out there in the marketplace.
A classic source of advantage is economies of scale. It sounds kind of academic, but the idea is super simple. Think of a bakery. The giant oven costs the same amount of money whether you bake 1 loaf of bread or 1,000 loaves of bread. So by baking 1,000, the cost of that oven spread out over each loaf becomes teeny tiny. That's economies of scale.
And that's closely related to another idea called the experience curve. It's basically practice makes perfect, but for an entire company. It's this simple fact that the more you do something, the better, the faster, and the cheaper you get at doing it. This is more than just raw volume. It's about learning. It's about building knowledge into your systems. It creates a cost advantage that a brand new competitor just can't touch overnight.
Now, for decades, there was this ironclad rule in business. You had to make a choice. You could either be the low-cost producer, making one thing very cheaply, or you could offer a highly customized special product for a high price. You could not do both. But guess what? Modern technology, especially flexible manufacturing, has completely shattered that old rule. Now, companies can achieve mass customization, giving people personalized products, but at a low cost.
So let's recap. We've gone all the way from personal productivity to team-level process improvement and up to big-picture strategy. So the final million-dollar question is, how do you make all these different levels actually work together in harmony?
This is where it all snaps into place. You can really think of a business like a central control panel. All these strategies we've talked about, they aren't just ideas floating around in a PowerPoint. They are executed, they are made real through every single function of the business. From R&D designing efficient products, to marketing building loyalty, to HR getting the most of people, and all the way down the supply chain. Everything has to work together.
So, I'll leave you with a direct challenge, a question you can apply right now. It doesn't matter if you're a one-person startup or part of a giant company. What is the single biggest source of waste, wasted time, wasted effort, or wasted resources that you could stand up and eliminate starting tomorrow?